Next up, let's go, color, let's go, saints. Through all the cosmic symphony of spirits white. Celestial rhythms, a universal trance. Dancing with angels in a cosmic dance. Celestial rhythms, a universal trance. Dancing with angels in a cosmic dance. You gotta be brave, saints, be brave. Latterwave, find your way to Latterwave. Next up, call up, let's go, saints. Guided by faith, where the universe paints. Celestial saints and a cosmic grace. Latterwave, find your way to a ladderwave. Find your way to a ladderwave. Find your way to a ladderwave. On this wave, next up, pull up for the ladderwave. Ladderwave, ladderwave. Find your way to a ladderwave. Next up, let's go, color.
Well, straight from Starbase Kolob, welcome to a moment of positivity with my friend Celestial Warrior. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. And how you doing, Xirtus?
I'm trying to do well. I enjoy that song. I hope other people do too. I try to put us into a positive mood. We're talking a bit about spirituality today, but also about, I guess, the esoterics of it, which is kind of cool too. And it's interesting because we've met through another podcast that I listen to, you listen to, the Ward Radio. They're doing a pretty great job. And we were talking about how you'd been. Well, let's start a bit about, like, who are you? Good to meet you, Celestial Warrior.
Hey, I'm Celestial Warrior. I am from South Carolina. I currently have several temple degrees inside of AMWORK, the Ancient Mystical Order of the Rose Cross. I grew up in a heavy religious background, which we'll get into later in the podcast. But
Sweet.
yeah, that's basically who I am and what I'm about.
Dude, yeah, and you're in the LDS as well. So
That's
ancient AMO LDS. So what is the Ancient Mystical Order of the Rosicrucians? Like, I mean, they're pretty much awesome, right? Like, they're everywhere, and there's a temple really close to my house in San Jose that is got, all the kids from all the different schools. They like to let them go and learn. What is the AMWORK? What do you think it is? What would you call it?
So I would define it by its purpose. Its purpose is the raising of consciousness and awareness in our society towards the values that give us light and give us hope. And basically getting in tune with the divine, with God, so that your soul is prepared to have what we call in the Rosicrucian tradition mastery of life. That is the ultimate goal of the Rosicrucians, is that we have a mastery of life.
So let's go back a bit, and you can explain how you got interested in this. You said you came from kind of a spiritual background. Like, what was your childhood, like with spirituality and all that?
Sure. So I grew up in the Institute of Divine Metaphysical Research. This is, by all definitions, a cult. It is something that I would advise everybody to stay away from. It's not a dangerous cult in the sense that it harms anybody. I mean, nobody's getting sacrificed.
That's good.
That right there where you have up on the website. So it's just a slant of Christian theology. Basically, I went to Bible class. You go to Bible class 3 days out of the week. Cool. So for me, growing up, it was Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays in my region. Every region has a different schedule. But they also have, they used to have yearly conventions. But it's a very, very, very not, They mix a lot of truth with falsehood. So basically, I learned a lot about the Bible, like because I had Bible classes 3 days out of the week. Like
Mm-hmm. Of
you can't help but know, know the Bible, know the prophecies that are in it, and
course.
different scriptures, right? So
That's
for
pretty good.
18 years of my life, like that's all I studied was the Bible 3 days out of the week.
Do
For
they have some cult obsession with this Dr. Henry Clifford?
Yes,
Kinley?
so Henry Clifford Kinley, I want to say this for the record.
Right.
When Henry Clifford Kinley started this organization, he told people, like, he never told anybody to worship him.
Right. Good.
Okay. When he started this organization, that man right there, he never told anybody to worship him. He never told anybody to deify him or make him out to be God. But when he died, of course,
Of
leaders
course.
of the cult then deified him and made him God, or made him like, the basically the prophecy of the second coming of Christ.
Well, that's kind of okay. This is interesting though, because you have to imagine if people don't have the whole story and they see somebody who does know a lot, it could be that the group is maybe missteps away from the original guy. But I mean, maybe he is some sort of an ascended master. I don't know. I mean, if you talk
I
about
would
the
say
Bible,
I would say this. I would say this from my studies of comparative religions. It is very, very quite possible that so God is universal, meaning that regardless of your location or who you are or where you are, you have access to the same spiritual laws that the next person does.
right?
So
Yeah,
the same exact
God's
spiritual
laws are
laws.
like the speed of light. You
So
experience them. Yeah.
if he had a sincere desire, the Bible says that any man that lacks wisdom, that he can ask God. So if he had a sincere desire in his heart to know the mysteries of God, then God would have guided him on a more righteous understanding of himself. Now,
Right.
having said that, again, even the things that he taught was not entirely the truth or not entirely the correctness. But in his defense, he did say that this was not a religion. It was more like a school. It was
Well, I noticed also that he says he's teaching from 1930 to 1976. And so if you think about the priesthood ban, like there are a lot of African Americans, persons of color in the United States who couldn't be part of the priesthood. So it could be that this is fulfilling some part of the universe needs this. There needs a place for people that have been forbidden at that time to be able to pursue God. But what are some of the things you think when you now look back and you say this stands out as not truth? This is what
so
were
one
this
of
one
the
of those
things,
things?
one of the core teachings of the institute was that every man and woman and child is born into this world corrupted, dark, evil. Like you have a negative spirit
Like
inside.
original sin, or is it
No,
different?
like it's yes, original sin was a part of the theology of it, but like you yourself, you at your soul, like we understand that you have a body and that you have a spirit. Your spirit is like your essence, basically. It's what makes up everything that we see. Just a quick derail here. Matter is composed of atoms, and those atoms are in connection with each other via mechanics of cohesion, adhesion, um, repulsion, retraction. So like these elements that happens with these atoms that cause it to configure to make a table, a lamp, a wall, a pillow, a person. All of these things abide by these laws, right? And scientists, the deeper and deeper they go inside these molecules, they keep finding more and more laws that need governing, that something has to make these laws cooperate. What that thing is that they're missing is spirit. They can't see it. It's not something that you're going to be able to detect with a physical device. So
Right.
spirit, since it is the essence of all things, it is what God used to produce life, produce everything, produce matter. Since that is the essence that he used to produce matter, you are spirit. Like even the flesh that you have, everything is just made of spirit. Now your soul is what you would attribute to like your personality. It is whenever the spirit is met with a physical body, consciousness is birth and it produces a soul within this body. It's like the first breath that a baby takes. You can actually see it transpire when a baby is born, to where the baby comes out and there's this essence that is in and around the baby. And when that baby comes out and it lets out that cry, color rushes into the baby. I know I've seen three of my children rebirth. I know what I'm talking about. Color
Wow.
rushes into the baby. They breathe, and you can see life literally just hit that baby. What that is it's nothing magical or hocus pocus, but it's the soul that has entered into that child. Now, what's taught inside of IDMR is that the soul is corrupted, that it is evil, it's black. And you use black and white as a
Interesting.
context for this, and that through an exchange, in other words, we're going to take your soul out of out of your physical body, and it's going to be replaced with a righteous soul. That's how you
Oh.
get, yeah. That's how
So
you
you're getting possessed by a different soul and losing your soul because your soul's bad. Is that kind of the
and not only
wow?
that, but this soul transfusion that takes place that they really can never define, which I'll get into later. And it's actually the reason why God led me into the Rosicrucian order, is so that I could
Interesting.
properly understand
Yeah,
metaphysics and
right.
actuality. Um,
Which is so
but
downplayed now because people think of metaphysics as like this Netflix series or something, and it's
it's so like when you want to think science and then God, and you think to yourself, well, they're two separate things, and one doesn't validate the other, and then
metaphysics is like, dude, I'm right here.
right here, right? Metaphysics is like that link that shows you,
Right.
okay, here's God, here's science, and there's this link in between the
And
two.
it's not a new thing. Like, you know, you can
No,
think of the Catholic Church did it. St. Thomas Aquinas. You go back so far, you're getting to Neoplatonists and everything else. But the Rosicrucians are really interesting because they're the least New Age. They're supposed to be the oldest, in a lot of ways, collection of most ancient.
we are the oldest, most ancient form of and you probably know this as well. You seem very researched that the Rosicrucians pretty much started the Freemasons and all the other secret fraternity and lodges that are around. Matter of fact, when you get into
They're
the Scott,
trendsetters.
exactly, that's what we are. But when you get into the IDMR, going back to the original question, I don't want to derail that. So to answer the original question, the IDMR believed that you as a person were evil, like your base nature was evil, and that you needed this soul exchange.
Wow.
And that once you experience this soul exchange, it's not you getting exchanged, because you still will go to hell.
So does this play into like the three souls, like Egyptian idea of like multiple souls?
I have no idea where they get this from. The only thing I can tell you is through my research, it is very apparent that the tree of life, when I say tree of life in this context, I'm talking about the Kabbalistic tree of life of the Jewish mystics. The Kabbalistic tree of life is basically like a map, an anatomy of the soul, that thing that dwells within us. And this path work up through this tree, through these different representations, emanations, divine emanations of God, it allows you to achieve certain levels of consciousness. Right there in the middle, Tifereth, that is Christ consciousness. And at the very bottom, you're going to see Malkuth. And this is the physical reality that most people dwell in. And as you keep going, you can actually go up and down the tree of life, meaning that like your mind has again, it's a roadmap to your soul. The key to your soul is your mind, obviously. And so you're able to channel certain frequencies with your mind, and that allows you to gain certain insights into certain things and actually deficiencies within your soul. So like, for instance, where I may be lacking in some part of my psyche, like say I lack wisdom or something like that, I can use certain meditations, certain visualizations to gain that kind of insight, or to open, because it's a spiritual faculty you already have. So it's not like something extra coming into you. You're actually using what's already in you to propagate your mind.
Right. And also you can think of like Royal Rife. Our audience has looked at sound healing before, and the science behind using sonication of different frequencies in order to target radical cells, cancer, emotion, anxiety, everything. But just thinking about how churches have these sound waves that they make that are designed, frequency is more than just placebo effect. There's a lot to frequency, and the fact that these frequencies are so ancient, I mean, that people have actually been able to record and understand which frequencies do what, that's pretty interesting, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so the whole idea of frequencies, again, it's nothing hocus pocus. It's just science, and it's science in its actually most pure form. Um,
I don't want to derail too far away from where we're going, but
yeah,
because you
let's
brought up
go.
this organization that you were in, the quantum metaphysical, the Institute of Divine Metaphysical
Metaphysical
Research,
research, yeah.
you said that they said that you still go to hell after you get your soul exchanged.
Yes, yes.
Can you explain that?
So your soul personality is still in their minds. How they abridge this is your soul personality is still attached to your soul.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not like when they say exchange, they mean exchanged with a completely different. It's not possession. It's like, and I don't know if they have reclarified this since I have left, because I left when I was 18. I'm 28 right now, so that's like a 10-year gap of study time with them that I
Yeah, they might
don't
have
really.
changed the way they
But
think of
I
things.
have no idea.
But when you were there,
From last I've heard, my family, my father is still deeply involved with it, and some of the other people, distant relatives in various other states that I've been a part of, lived in, are still a part of it. From what I've gathered from what they say, nothing has really changed from when I left.
so you get a new soul that's a part of your being, and then that soul goes to heaven. But the old soul that was part of your being, that soul goes to hell.
Yeah.
So, but then, so your being is separate from your souls in a lot of ways. Then, essentially,
Yep.
wow, that's really interesting. Metaphysics.
It's not, but it's not true metaphysics. It's a perverted metaphysics, and that's
Right.
what I learned in Amwork. Is that for your audience listening, a lot, if not all, of the New Age stuff you're gonna find, if you're not discovering this stuff by pure revelation of God, if you're not discovering this stuff by sincere meditation and opening your heart to what Jesus Christ has taught in his scriptures throughout history, then what you will do is you will go astray, because this new age stuff is literally ancient stuff that was used to point to the creator, perverted and misused today in order to make yourself feel better about being evil.
That baby knows. That baby's like, Aleister Crowley. No, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I mean, that's kind of the thing. The amount of suffering that happens because of New Age magic, that people think New Age magic is going to lead to further revelation. How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, I mean, New Age magic revelation and ancient texts, if you're choosing to get something from the source, then you know at least that it's supposed to serve that thing. If you don't, then you should kind of assume that wherever you're getting from wants you to serve it, right? And so I feel like we look at Aleister Crowley and he's like, oh, I'm going to do what thou wilt. And a lot of the people that are saying, oh, I'm just do this for myself and for my own interest in this pursuit. And that leads you into serving something else that's like, oh yeah, I'll give them just enough information that they can hurt themselves, right? So what is it in the Amorcs, the Amorc order that gave you the idea that this was false and wasn't the true path? And
All right. So when I left the IDMR, I went into Satanism, and left hand path. So
interesting. How did that all happen?
So I found, basically, I was 18. I found out that I was in a cult, pretty much, like looking around and realizing, holy crap, like, yeah, I
Sounds so
am
different. Okay.
right,
Okay.
And so I was sitting there and I'm like, well, at this point I kind of feel extremely. Hold on one second.
If she want, you can give her a hug. She's
No, it's fine. My wife has it, but
okay.
So I was feeling extremely betrayed at this point in my life. I was feeling like I didn't really have much say or much. I felt stripped. I felt stripped of my understanding. Like I felt lost, because this was something I had put my whole heart and mind into. Right, this was something that I had like really really believed, and it all came crumbling down from various very simple stuff, like the nature of God, like that, this Dr. Kinley being God, and this happened, this person being God, and Adam was God, and Joseph, let's see, Moses, after Moses you had was it Joseph, I want to say, after
Joshua
Joshua,
after,
sorry,
yeah.
Joshua. So Joshua, he was God. And like, so it's just like,
so they have this like a manual reincarnation kind of. That's okay.
so for every dispensation, they believe for every dispensation, God showed up in a physical body and walked the earth plane and did stuff.
Like it's kind of like the Jewish Chabad movement with the Lubavitches. They have the same kind of idea, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. So once I woke up,
and also just the fact that they tell you that your soul is evil. So like maybe you'd want Satanism if you thought your soul.
Right,
if I thought my soul was evil, yeah.
Bingo. So that was it. So that's what drove me. That's what I was getting to. That's what drove me to Satanism. I was like, well, you know what? Since I'm going to hell anyways, I might as well get very well acquainted with that domain. And sir, I did, to the point to where I'm not gonna say my credentials here, but when I was in the left-hand path, I was in DMs with like EA coding, and like, I mean, and when I say DMs, I'm talking like this guy was taking tips from me. I was operating, and I always knew from a very early age that I had big spiritual insight. And
but you avoided doing like, you didn't 09A, you didn't go to the 09A or do anything like
no. I didn't
hurt anybody.
I didn't do Order of Nine Angels. I didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that you could practice that religion without hurting someone. At the same time, if you are practicing that religion, you are hurting someone, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah.
And so that is that eventually led me to leave. I was like, okay, I can't do the whole Satanist thing anymore. I'm gonna have to actually go and do something else.
Yeah. So as you were becoming a Satanist, and you're realizing though that it's hurting yourself and that you're kind of glorifying, this destructive path. I mean, is that kind of what led you to decide you wanted to find another church? Or were you still in the Amorc, or how?
No. So after I did not join Amorc until after I found Jesus. I left Satanism because Satanism destroyed myself. It destroyed my soul. I became addicted to drugs because the whole premise of it is do what thou wilt shall be the whole of law. And so since I was raised in a very strict religious household and I just completely went the complete opposite spectrum, all I did was just try everything and do anything I could in order to try to please myself.
Right.
So I eventually ran myself into the ground, and I needed an out. I needed some kind of salvation. I had studied the Bible for years, so I asked Jesus to fix it.
Let's take a baby break. I'm going to put on another one of the songs, and then in the meantime, you can hug your baby for a second. That seems like a good way to.
I might need to help the wife. Yeah, give me one second.
Yeah, we're going to take a baby break. How about that? I also have another one I was working on because I don't know if he's done yet, but check this one out. I swear, the LDS propaganda tonight is better than you think. Passport says, I just tuned the baby, put like my own kids out.
night. You've become embodied and bright.
Gotta admit, it's pretty good.
How do I
Like a hyper pop, progressive, hardcore punk rock, punk pop.
All right, now I'm back.
Okay, cool. We're about to do the breakdown. We're gonna drop it real quick. One second.
take flight?
See, she likes it. It's cool. See, kid, you like it. Maybe she just needs to listen.
There we go.
Yeah. That's probably the way to do it. She could be. Is it he or she? What's your child?
This is Mary. This is my
Mary.
second. She can't hear you.
That's okay. But as long as Mary's included, maybe Mary would be happy.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, we were talking about how you were in Satanism. You were like, I'm gonna destroy my soul because, like, why not? It's like I'm gonna live my life.
Well, no. So, I wanted to know more. This is gonna sound really weird, but I wanted knowledge, and I was not afraid of the dark side. Like, everything I had studied in the scriptures had let me know that demons and angels were not as powerful as humans. And this, I know for some that may be like, what did he just say? It's truth. Demons and angels are not as powerful as humans. A little bit of theological drop here. Whenever we were created and fashioned in heaven, before we were created here on earth, our purpose was to become greater than the angels by the trials here set on earth. And so this ability that we have in order to ascend and be greater, and that's where this the whole ascended master thing comes from. This ability that we have to ascend to these types of spiritual evolutionary heights is very real, but it has to be done Jesus's way. It has to be done his way. Otherwise, you're going to end up following some kind of false doctrine. But I mean, I had to come to know that through Satanism. I had to figure that out, that this, even though it was getting me results, even though it was getting me, and it was, even I found out very quickly how real magic was, how real all of these things are. I found out very fast, but I had no understanding. When I say understanding, I'm meaning I had no like real understanding of what I was doing to myself, to those around me, and also, what I was actually doing to my destiny. Because a lot of people may not know this. If you're out there and you're involved in Satanism, Luciferianism, Aleister Crowley, black magic, chaos magic, whatever you want to call it, you're destroying your destiny. Because these demons, what they do is they may do favors for you. They may give you some information that's real and true. But anything that's meant good for you is going to turn out bad. Anything that is meant good to happen to you, like if you were supposed to get a raise at work, I don't know, you might not get it. And not only will you might not get it, but then your landlord might hike the rate, the rent up after you not get that raise. So you have no, like, I was destroying myself. Like, karma is very real. And when Jesus says you will reap what you sow, he ain't playing. You will reap what you sow. If you're putting negativity out there, if you're putting harmful energy into your body, because that's what it is. You're putting negative, very negative vibrations into your body and into your mind, into your psyche. That stuff causes very, very bad damage that, thank God, I was able to reverse due to my studies.
Sorry. At that point, you were no longer going to a morgue, or were you still? So
until I wasn't converted to Jesus at this point in my life. When I left Satanism, I left Satanism. I went to a church. And the reason is because I remember this like it was yesterday. I'm going to share a moment in my life that even some members of my family haven't heard this story. I walked outside of my house in downtown Greenville, South Carolina. I was in Greenville. And I walked outside of this. I was living in this like duplex almost, where I was living on one side and they had another family that was living on the other side. It was like a wall in between. And at this point I was living on the bigger side of the duplex. And we had just moved out of the smaller side. So again, like in my mind, stuff like that, like moving up, so to speak, was like proof of this stuff working, because those were various things that I asked for. But I went outside and I felt torn. Like, for the first time ever, I stopped what I was doing and like looked it within myself, and it scared me. I saw nothing. I saw nothing. I saw no light. I saw no love. I saw no compassion. I mean, to the point to where it it was bad enough to where I was even questioning whether, my children, like, if I still had that kind of parental love for my children. Like, that's how dark and gone, and the kind of level that I was at. Um, and I didn't want any more. I was crushed. I just couldn't. I couldn't take it anymore. At some point, the darkness is too much. At some point, it is. At some point, you inundate yourself with so much of it that it becomes overbearing to where you can't take it anymore. That's what happened to me. I couldn't take it anymore. And that moment, the only name that rung out in my head was Jesus. It was like, and it wasn't, it's soft, the small still voice. It wasn't a small still voice either, brother. Like, it was like loud, like very loud. It was just Jesus. That's all I could hear. I'm sitting in my front lawn. I started crying, and I went to my knees. I looked up towards. It was a very pretty day out. I looked up and I prayed to God for like the first time in years. Because I haven't at this point, I haven't been praying to God. I've been actively working against God. Like, I've been telling people that Jesus ain't coming back. I mean, all of the typical antichrist tropes that are out there. That was my thing. That was my go-to. And I'll never forget this wave of beauty and compassion and love and light filled me to the point to where when I looked around after looking up, the trees looked beautiful. I'm not making this up. Like, everything looked. Have you ever seen the movie The Celestine Prophecy?
Yeah.
That's how everything looked.
Just like a full on,
Just
like the opposite of when Frodo puts on the ring. Just like
right.
a good positive.
It was like, and I had never, even while I was in the IDMR, I had never experienced nature, like the divinity, like experiencing the divinity of nature itself was like, and
feeling the life in nature. Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, I was taken aback. And so at that point, I threw away all my Satanist stuff, and I was like, I got to find a church. I have to find just I didn't care. I did not care which church. I didn't care which church I went to. I wanted to just go to a church. I wanted to go to a church. I wanted to hear a choir sing. I wanted to hear some preacher, whether he was preaching. I don't care. I just wanted to hear. I wanted to experience
any
Jesus,
Jesus at all. Yeah. But so, like, did you end up at a Catholic church or a Baptist church?
No,
first?
so I ended up at a Baptist church at first.
Yeah.
And it was there that I reread the Bible, like, not from an indoctrinated standpoint, because at this point I have nothing, right? Like, my cult upbringing didn't work. Satanism and all of the left-hand path didn't work. So it's like I have nothing. Like, I'm empty inside, completely empty of knowledge. I mean, I have a basic understanding, but as far as like anything of substance of God, real revelation from God, empty, gone. So I took the opportunity while I was at church to reacquaint myself with the Bible. Brother, revelation started to pour like you would not believe. And I started to see the problems in society. I started to see how broken everything was, and how everything leading up to that point in my life I needed in order to help the next person overcome a lot of these same problems. So I approached one of the members of that church, and that Baptist church was a Mason, Brother Shanks. Brother Shanks, I approached Brother Shanks. Me and him got to talking. Mm-hmm. And me and Brother Shanks got to talking, and I had basically, he would come by the house, and we had become good friends. Like we would talk about the Bible together. We would talk about various different things. I knew he was a Mason, but I didn't like inquire any further. And eventually I asked him about it. Like, dude, I keep seeing you wear this weird ring and like you have these hats on and you invite me out to these. Yeah. You give me these weird handshakes and you invite me out to these like very weird like gatherings, right? Where it's fun. Like the kids, they have like bouncy houses and stuff set up for kids and stuff. They're very charitable people.
Yeah, dude.
Okay. Freemasons are awesome. So I just wondered, I was curious, like, what is this? And I got to talking with some of the brothers and they wanted me in.
Yeah.
But one of the brothers was a Rosicrucian as well.
Oh.
And so he saw that, no, this guy needs like he needs more than just like Freemasonry. Like he needs that and like spiritual understanding and the resources and the libraries and different, texts that he can, get this kind of stuff from. And so at my interview, they said that because normally after your interview, they'll do a voting inside of the lodge to accept you as a member. I need that light. I need that light. So they'll put something.
You can switch. Now she can go with your mom. There you
Yes. So they would.
Point is, he's got a wife and kids. So you know what? Like we're just gonna put up the sign of distress. Keep going.
So I had at the interview, one of the brothers, he pulled me outside and he said that I think you would benefit from AmWork. And I was like, now what is this? Like first I thought I was going to be a Mason. And now you're telling me about AmWork. Like what's AmWork? And he's like, just go to the website, read about it, and tell me what you think. So I go to the website and I start reading it. And instantly it was like, yes. Like,
this is it. This is what you're looking for.
This is what I'm looking for as far as like really starting to understand and having the resources at my fingertips to get the information I need quickly. And the community is super helpful in AmWork. Like you can go on the, if you're a member and you have access to our site, when you go on the online community forum, you can ask a question in chat. You're going to get an answer and you'll get multiple answers from multiple perspectives and all of it valid and beautifully put. But anyways, AmWork, when I did that, I got converted to Jesus. Then I joined AmWork.
And so when you joined AmWork, you through the Baptist church guy, he helps you join the group in South Carolina.
So through the guy at that church, that's how, and we still maintain a healthy relationship. But I had to leave that church. This is why. Because I was in AmWork, because I was reading the Bible, God was throwing revelation at me. If you are diligent and sincere, for anybody that's listening, if you're diligent and sincere and truly seek wisdom from God, he will give it to you. He will give it to you. He will give it to you. And boy, did he give it to me. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm starting to gain a lot of conservative. I hate using that word, but I'm starting to gain a lot of conservative views just from reading the Bible, like just from understanding prophecy and understanding where we are. I was like, I'm not too happy with preachers preaching politics from the pulpit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not too happy with, and
it has alchemical consequences and you see it. Yeah.
Right. It has very, very bad consequences. And I was like, I'm not too happy with that. So we left. We went to a different church who was more apolitical, more spirit filled. And the doctrine, aside from the common theological differences like the nature of God and different things like that, the doctrine was very, 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 very much in line with a more universal God approach. Like,
this is a Baptist church you found?
This was a non-denominational church, primarily black church. Both of these churches were primarily black.
I've been pretty stoked, I want to say, on black churches. I know that seems like a weird genre of church, but they have better, like
music,
a lot of music to start. Oh my Lord! But
look, I'm not gonna lie. When I coming from my background and then going to an LDS church, my man, like,
yeah,
I was like, for the first time, my first thought Lord forgive me. My first thought was, my God, this is boring. Like,
Well, I mean, you
there's
got to remember they kicked the devil out, and he used to make all the good show tunes, But I appreciate that you like some of my Latterwave music, because I think we're gonna make a difference. But no, beyond just the music, I think a lot of time I've been in a black church, I've heard them speak about things that don't, apocryphal or deeper scripture things that don't always get talked about in a
I will give them
skateboarder
credit for that. I
church.
will give them credit for that. And that and again, this second church that I went to was exactly like that, where
It's
the
awesome, yeah.
pastor that was there, he also was very, very, very adamant about the Spirit of God. And our big thing in that particular ministry was Grace Cathedral Ministries. In that particular ministry, it was about sowing and reaping. Don't, people in chat, don't go freak out. He wasn't one of those pastors. Like, he was that one out of 100 that was legit. Like,
Nice.
he was, I was, he called me a son. I had access to all the back rooms. I saw what was going on. I was impressed. I mean, the guy actually ran it like a church. It was beautiful to see someone with a sincere heart trying to get the message across. Circumstances, not grievances, made me leave that church. So it got to a point where I was having my third kid at that point in my life, and scheduling was bad. The church was like a long ways away, and I was driving a kind of semi-busted vehicle. My wife was trying to finish school at the time. So God, in his cleverness, knowing that I would not willingly leave that church, made it to where it was difficult
to stay
for me to make it in church on Sunday. And so at this point in my life, brother, I was frustrated.
Yeah.
Because now
you thought you were doing the right thing, and
now I'm completely derailed. And mind you, I'm a professional saxophonist.
Oh, really? That's super bass.
I'm a professional saxophonist. So I was playing saxophone in church.
What?
My man.
Oh, and then you go to the Mormon church? You care more than
thousands. I had thousands of people that would tune in on Sunday mornings just for praise and worship to hear me play. I'm not even joking. That's what the pastor said himself. I'm that good. And it was amazing. And I thought that that's what he wanted me to do. But watch this. God took that away from me. And then he made me study more of the Bible outside of the church. And I started to realize that there are missing pieces in this book. And they keep retranslating this book over and over and over again because they keep finding things wrong with it. For instance, in an older version of the Bible, it says that one of the kings was 44 years old when he took the throne. And then in another edition, a newer edition of the Bible, it says that he was younger. So which edition is right? Same Bible, but you have different ages for the same king. So which edition is right? The most latest edition is right because they have the most archaeological and geographical evidence for that kind of stuff. So that's the reason why we keep having same translations of the Bible. I got frustrated with trying to study all these different translations and piece all this stuff together. I started studying the Quran. This is the Muslim faith.
Yep.
And I started actually practicing the Muslim faith. This is how inspired I was by the Quran. I started actually practicing.
But on your own? Were you not
going on my own. I started practicing on my own. I would eventually go to the mosque every now and then. I said Salah and all that kind of stuff. But it was a profound experience in my life because for once I put myself in a culture that I had never been in before, a book that was not known to me. I'd studied the Bible my whole life, not the Quran. Yeah. And even though there were several members in AMWORK and others who were Muslim, I never was one. So when I started studying the Quran, something clicked that didn't click before when I was studying the Bible. And it clicked in such a big way, it made me take my Rosicrucian studies far more seriously.
Really?
What clicked was everything in the Quran, when you read it, just like the Book of Mormon, just like the Bible, it inspires you to be a better person. It inspires you to live a better life. It inspires you to attach the greater ideals of yourself and become better. The Islam that you see out in the Middle East, folks,
correct,
is not the Islam that is preached inside the Quran.
It's the Westboro Baptist Church of Islam is the thing. Like, we have to remember that there's a bad Christianity, bad Islam, bad.
Correct.
I've seen
Correct.
Buddhists freak out, and it happens. All right.
So, so just right. So just a caveat there, like, those people out in the Middle East are practicing a perverted Islam. They're practicing an Islam that is not the true Islam. Proof of that is in the Quran. It tells them not to be sectarian. And how many versions of Islam is over there in the Middle East?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, it's
So,
supposed to be non-sectarian. And if you look at Spain in the Middle, we've done some videos talking about this, but like when Spain was a Muslim country, they were so non-sectarian that they just kind of considered Christianity and Judaism to be kind of part of the Islam
right.
of their society. And it's just really interesting how we've gotten away from everyone agreeing. Like the LDS Church and I forget which group of Islam, but they have good relations because of that.
Yeah. And so, but it clicked because when I was reading the Quran, I started to see, it's like, wait a minute. This is revelation given to a man named Muhammad after Jesus. This is a revelation from God. If you read the Quran, it leaves you almost speechless with how much love is actually in the book. Like almost every other verse, it talks about Allah being gracious and him being loving, kindness, and merciful. It has some wrath in there too. But
there's like three verses where they're like, if they're not Islamic, then you're supposed to, cut them down.
Well,
but that's in a circumstance. It's like
bingo.
Compared to
bingo. I wanted to mention that too. When God, this is what hit me. When God reveals his word to us, he's not unjust. He's not going to reveal every single detail of his word is going to be universal. Some of the stuff he's going to reveal to you is going to be for you and for that time period. There were things that the Muslim community at that time were dealing with that caused that particular revelation to be valid. They needed those particular things to adhere to and stick to in order to maintain what they were trying to maintain while Muhammad was walking the earth. Same thing with the Bible and its ordinances with the Jews, right? There are things that when God reveals his word, he reveals it to those people for that time. The law of Moses is a perfect example. Now, if me and you want repentance, we pray to Jesus and we get it. But back during that time, you had to sacrifice a certain animal.
Yeah.
In parallel to a certain crime. And if you didn't do that, you couldn't get repentance. But if we were to do that now, you would be put in prison for animal abuse.
Right. And there's different kinds of, like, even Noahide versus the 10 Commandments. Like there's rules for the priesthoods. There's specific priesthoods that are part of the tribe. Those are separate from the rules that are just for all people. There's certain things that you're supposed to do if you're trying to be a priest that you don't have to do necessarily. You only have to follow like 7 out of 10 of the rules if you're not trying to be a priest, right?
That's right. So it's anyways, back on track. The Bible and the Quran were revealed for their time, which started making me wonder, there's got to be a book that was
for our time
revealed for the most important time of God's entire dispensational plan, the last days and the second coming of Christ. There has to be a book that was revealed to the latter day saints.
You're just thinking logically at this point. Like, well, it would stands to reason that,
So where do I go? I'm a member of the Rosicrucian order. I've grown up in the ranks. I've studied with them. I started to learn the hand signs, the gestures, the handshakes, the code words, the symbols, all of it.
You're up to like Chevalier, Chevalier.
Yeah. We're real high up there. So
doing all right.
I'm sitting there and I'm having a good time. And I'm like, let me open up the library and start coordinating with my brothers and start figuring this out. Lo and behold, I find out through studying more of the Bible, because actually that's what it led me back to.
Ironically, right? Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, right.
Everything led back to the Bible. I come back to the Bible and a particular Bible, the New Jerusalem Bible.
Interesting. So why the New Jerusalem Bible?
The New Jerusalem Bible has the Apocrypha in it. It has Maccabees, 1st and 2nd Maccabees. It has all of I advise anybody, if you are studying the Book of Mormon and you do not have a copy of the New Jerusalem Bible,
I'm gonna check it out.
You need it because it has everything. The chronological table in the back, the footnotes and endnotes, and it tells you even during the time of the Tower of Babel and other stuff about the massive migration and where people went and all that stuff.
Sweet.
So I started studying deeply, 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 deeply. And I ran across this Native American, a Cherokee. He is an Indian chief. And their primary responsibility as Indian chiefs right now is the dissemination of information to their lineage. So basically, like if you were, or to your tribe, if you are a chief, then it's just like the times of old where we carry the message from each generation to each generation, like the preservation of the plates, like the preservation of the scrolls for the Jews. The chiefs preserve their heritage through stories and different things like that they have, and the chief tells these stories to their people, the young ones coming up, and that's how they keep everything flowing and consistent and going. Now, keeping that in mind, this chief had a story of, one of the stories he told was that his ancient ancestors came from the land that was in the east, and that they settled in the ancient Americas before the colonies came over here.
Right. This is also one of the Rosicrucianists, Bacon, right? Sir Francis Bacon wrote Nova Atlantis, which is about the Rosicrucian settling of
So
finding
having
other tribes there. Yeah.
having read all of that, of course, I was intrigued. And then this Cherokee Indian is telling us a story about these ancients traveling to the ancient Americas from the exact location where the Tower of Babel was at. So I'm just
Crazy,
sitting here,
right?
I'm sitting here going, this can't be real. This literally cannot. I can't. This is. Why haven't I heard of this before? What is this? So it set me on an even more path. I wanted to learn more. The only thing I could find that had any record of these people, and again, I was not necessarily looking for I was, but I didn't know that, the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
And I found the Book of Mormon through Amorc.
And you're like, really? Wait, through the Amorc, really?
Yeah, so there are Mormons. There's
Yeah,
Mormons that are Rosicrucians. So
surprise.
surprise. So if through talking with them, I was able to like go, okay, all right, I need to read the Book of Mormon. One thing they told me was just read the Book of Mormon and pray. So I got a PDF version of the Book of Mormon. I think there's a free PDF version somewhere on the LDS website. I got the PDF version of it. I started reading it. And the first, it's not on our website, but it's on the LDS website. Yeah. But the first chapter, I want to say, when I got done with the first chapter, and I read the introductions, the testimony of the 3 witnesses, and I think testimony of the 8 witnesses they have in there, and looked at the pictures. I loved the pictures. I thought they were awesome. And as I'm reading this, there's an unshakable revelation happening to the point to where I could not stop reading. I'm not joking. Like, I went from I'm curious to I'm home. And it was one of those situations, man, where you're sitting there and you're just like, this can't be real. This can't be real. Now, the time from me leaving that church, right, the last church I was at, and studying Islam, and then coming into LDS, this was a long period. This was not a short period. Okay, so there was a long period where I wasn't going to church, where I wasn't involved in any kind of, other than my online Rosicrucian family, I wasn't involved with any kind of church or anything like that. And I felt alone.
Right. Even in Amorc.
Even in Amorc. And the reason I felt alone even in Amorc is because even though Amorc is the invisible college, it is where I learned and got revelation of God. I understood the nature of God. I understood the plan of salvation. You learn these things.
It's interesting because you came at it so logically. Some people have such a hard time with this stuff. And even in their church, they're like unable to accept people laugh about Kolob. People have a hard time with a lot of these things, but you're coming at this from a place where it's through deduction, reasoning out the formula. You're like, wait, there has to have been Lamidia, Appalachia. You're looking at it from almost a completely objective point of view. And you're saying, well, it has something to exist there, right? It has to there, right?
Right.
I find that interesting.
And I mean, and again, logic is what got me out of Satanism, because one of the flood myth. Satanists are gonna hate hearing this one, but the flood myth, it happened. It's not a myth. It happened. There was a global flood everywhere.
Put that picture back up again. Yeah.
There was a global flood everywhere across the face of the planet, and every ancient civilization has record of it at the same exact time. Now, either they emailed each other and coordinated a global coup of a flood myth, or the flood happened all over the face of the planet.
Why not both?
So, no, I don't think the internet was running back then, homie.
Yeah, but definitely conspiracies to hide, the history, because I think this is a big thing when we're talking about pre-flood, the idea that everyone was together, and afterwards, everyone's so quick to say, well, this is a different group, and that's a different group. But if we're saying that before the flood, and then after the flood, we were spread out, then yeah, I mean, we should be looking for the common roots. John 10, the sheep from other flocks, right? Not in his fold, all that, right?
That's right. So again, it just got to a point to where I was like, if the flood myth is real and it's in the Bible, then I'm working for the wrong team.
See, again, math. It's just math.
So it's like, it don't take it. I was a logical person, and my pride, my ego, my selfish desires is what kept me in the left-hand path for so long. And when logic finally hit me like a lightning bolt, it shook me, and it got to the point where I had to get out. Now, when I got into LDS, I want to have a shout out to Sister Hess. Sister Hess is a missionary at my local church. Shout out to Sister Hess and to the Kent family. They have been wonderful. It was through them that God showed John 13:35 to me, because I had felt alone, because everywhere I looked on the face of this planet, no one is seeking God. Unless you were a Rosicrucian or a Freemason, it was like everyone you talked to could care less about the mysteries of God. They could care less about what God wants out of us and out of our life. And thank you for putting that scripture up. It's my favorite scripture. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have love one to another. I love it. But it was through that medium that I was able to identify where Christ's apostolic power was at. Because even in secular churches, in the Catholic cathedrals, in the secular churches that are out there calling themselves Christian, they don't have love one to another. They don't have love to anyone that is, again, the last church I was at is an exception to the rule. But I was raised in, I'm a saxophonist. I was raised in a cult that studied the Bible. And I'm telling each and every one of you that I have played for pretty much any Christian denomination you can think of. I've played for Catholics. I played for Baptists. I played for the Methodists, the Episcopalians, the evangelists.
We're gonna make some Mormon music later, you and I.
We can, yes. But I mean, I've played for all of them, like all their music. I played for all of them. And everywhere I went, guess what was lacking in each church house? The real authority and apostolic power. When I say apostolic, I mean orderly. The orderly power of God and Christ here. That
I
was
mean, it's concerning. I think a lot of people don't get what you mean because they don't understand power. And if you only understood what true power is, I mean, you've got these churches. Okay, if you go into some of these occult groups and you acknowledge that there is good craft and that magic and science are connected, and you start seeing that even in the secular world there are people practicing magic that are realizing their dreams, and you start to understand how dangerous that is, then it'd make you more concerned to go into churches and see them not have that power.
Right.
That's the thing that freaks me out about a lot of the secular, I don't know if that's the right word, secular Christian, but there's secular Christians they think everything's a parable. It's all a metaphor. You just downplay anything spiritual or miraculous. And these are things you don't want to downplay because there's other people playing the game.
Now, again, the reason why I mentioned Sister Hess earlier, going back to what you're just saying now, is that when Sister Hess came and because you can request the Book of Mormon on the website. For all those that are watching, if you're not affiliated with the LDS Church, you can still get a free Book of Mormon and have missionaries from the church come and visit you and at least talk with you. You don't have to join the church to get a free book. You don't have to join the church to get a free book. You literally can, if you're curious, you can literally just get the book. I advise you to read it with an open heart. Don't be contentious with the missionaries. They have enough problems to deal with.
Yeah,
treat
they're
them
pretty
kindly.
chill. Yeah. Give them food, by the way.
Give them food. Give them water. You know,
they're hungry.
sit down with them and just ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions and getting more knowledge. And it's not going to hurt you to read the Book of Mormon. But Sister Hess, when she came to my house, my apartment, when I requested the Book of Mormon, when they came and sat and talked with me, their first meeting was one of shock. Because as I kept talking about the various things that we're talking about here and started breaking down where I was spiritually and what God had revealed to me, and this actually shocked me too. I was expecting them, because I gave them brother. When I tell you I unloaded. Like I gave them, we are supposed to be lights. We are supposed to increase the light in others. God is universal. I mean, this is the truth. This is what God has revealed to me. This is the truth. And they looked at me and went,
yeah, we know.
And so I'm like, oh, okay.
Then why aren't you all? Yeah.
Right. And so I'm like, okay, now this is really freaking me out because what y'all saying matches my revelation. And then I started to find little nuggets, right, within the Book of Mormon to validate these things. When you read the Book of Mormon, if you're reading it honestly, there's no way a man wrote it. It's impossible.
It's too crazy. It's weird.
It's impossible. Firstly, Joseph Smith would have had to use only resources from 1820 in New York City. And he would have had to have such a profound knowledge of the Bible that he would have had to have in mind an outline of how this entire book is supposed to be laid. This is in order for you to make this up.
And also the way the words come in and out of each, it's the way it's written in physical geometry. Yeah.
You can't do it. You can't do it. I have an IQ of well over 190. You can't do it.
Not going to get away with just also in front of 30 or 3 witnesses, 9 witnesses. He's got
65 working days.
Yeah.
65 working days.
I'm just saying, I want people to try. Don't get me wrong. If you
please go try.
I think that's awesome. Is all. I want everyone to try.
Yeah, please go try.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's, nobody's going to be able to replicate the same kind of revelations that Joseph Smith had and being able to transcribe those plates and bring us the Book of Mormon. And we have a situation here in the earth where we're at the last day. We're at the point where the Antichrist is about to be revealed. And Jesus is going to come back. And when he comes back, woe unto the earth. Because look around you. I mean, the 2023 Grammys, what did we have? We had a man by the name of Sam Smith. I find this very, very, very ironic. Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith is a prophet. Yes?
Yeah.
Joseph Smith is a prophet. Sam Smith in 2023, the last days, here in the last dispensation, put on a satanic Grammy. Where
I had to look up Sam Smith. I feel like such a boomer right now, but I've seen the face. I know.
It's okay. Sam Smith, he's a transgender.
I thought that was Eminem. It's okay.
No, it's all right. It's not Eminem. He's trying to look like Eminem. Anyways,
that's cool. I'm glad he's trying to look like Eminem. But Sam Smith.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to be.
Y'all hear Xirtus? Y'all hear him? He's trying to be
I'm from California.
Oh,
I can do it.
Anyways,
I can do it.
So the guy put on a satanic Grammy. Satanism. It was profoundly satanic. I don't know if you could pull up like a picture of it, but he pulled off a satanic Grammy with another transgender locked in a cage behind him.
Oh yeah. I think this picture
came.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't have to show it, but
just in case you're at church, close your eyes. But it is definitely, it looks more evil than good. I would say
it is evil. Yeah. It is evil. This is exactly what is what
horns and stuff like that. I know Moses had horns in some version, but the pants are weird. Those are too tight. At very least, that's a fashion sin. At very least, keep going.
Anyways, but I'm just saying, like, it's showing us where we are in the end times. It's showing us, like, look how far.
Yeah. I think
how far society is going.
This is what I mean by the alchemical consequences of things. You're like, look, it does things. You know that it does things to do this. I think that's what people don't understand. They're like, well, why not just let people do things?
Because it's not
fruits of labor.
Bingo. Sowing and reaping. And again, my whole journey in life led up to this point where I understand all these principles now. Because at that last church I was into, that was where we were heavy on. If you sow bad, you get bad. If you put in negative and harmful energy into your body, let's use here for all of you that think I'm being hocus pocus spooky right now, radiation. You have the wrong kind of radiation or any kind of radiation at the right level into your body, you will get cancer.
You can, yeah. I don't know if YouTube lets us say you will anymore, but you can.
I'm sorry, Xirtus. I gotta watch out for these algorithms. I forgot.
I know it happened. No, but you get the point. Is that in real life, frequency effect? We talk about Chernobyl. We talk about how in and out of frequency changes can rapidly change the way you're holding cells together. So if you're moving, it's the same. There are ways that this is similar to microwave rate.
Correct.
Oven effect.
Correct. And so that's why, honestly, it was very good when I heard that the missionaries don't have access to certain things and they're kind of like very like isolated almost. That's a good thing for all you anti-XMO retards out there, because if they are not being exposed to a lot of this harmful energy that is around them all the time, that is good.
Yeah, sure. I think stay out of the water is a weird one, but that's okay. You don't have to. The not swimming part's weird, but in general, I think the big concern with information overload too, because you have kids that are not used to what this is. What I wonder about is we don't tell the kids anymore about these things. I don't think kids are are aware of the magic that there are these occult organizations. I think people live in their kind of safety net zones. They're safe in their communities.
Well, they're not going to research. They're not going to take the time to research this stuff. And the reason why they're not going to take the time to research this stuff is because it's inconvenient. First off, if you start researching diligently, you may end up crushing your own ego. You may end up finding information that doesn't correspond to what your particular belief system is. And so then you have to reroute yourself. What I've noticed, though, is in LDS,
people slightly more aware or open-minded to it. Yeah.
Not only that, but the doctrine here is perfect. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. It's perfect because you people, and now me included, represent John 13:35.
Yeah, through actions, man. You got to do works.
So if I can
to prove faith.
If I can look at someone, right, and you talk a good game, but then as soon as you get done telling me about all these wonderful things, you start snorting a line of coke. Well, I mean, you obviously don't do what you're saying. So the advice you're giving is gonna it doesn't have it's not gonna carry weight. Now, on this opposite side of that, if you are a light to the world, if you show love and compassion on a level that is almost like otherworldly, what happens is there is a not only a peace that comes over you and others, but others see that and they want to be like that, and it helps them find the divine spark within themselves. Um, and that divine spark is the start of covenant, an inward covenant that you make with your maker, with God, that you're going to fix and correct certain things in order to continue on the path. Now, it's funny that Jesus tells us all the time, like, don't be mean to your enemies, and uh, help the sick, help the poor, help the needy, be charitable, do all of these wonderful things. Jesus tells us that, but one of the things that we often don't keep in mind is that he also tells us why. He tells us why we need to do that. We need to do that not so we can get inside of heaven. Heaven is free. Once you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you're going to go to heaven. That's true. But where you're placed at in heaven.
That bothers a lot of people. I noticed. Like, I was in the South recently, and I was talking to some Baptists, and they're like, "So, what is the deal with these Mormons? With their LDS? They didn't even know that word yet. But basically, the idea that you're not done. You don't just get a fast pass. You can't just like sin all your life. I mean, you can, I guess. That's a very Pauline thing, though, right? Like Pauline Catholicism is that you can kill all the martyrs, and then you can just use the blood sacrifice of Jesus, and you're in. That's cool, but if you're trying to work for God, I guess, I don't know, is that what it is? Because you're kind of trying to be part of the thing.
You're trying to no, you're right. So the Bible talks about crowns of glory, gowns and robes inside of Revelation.
Co-heirs of Christ. Yeah, you're being with him, doing stuff with him.
So like you're working in heaven. Like, I don't know where people get this idea that you're just not going to do anything.
Right.
Here's something for you to
consider. Does that terrify everyone? You're going to be working.
Here's something for you to consider. A soul, when a baby is born, a soul enters the baby. We discussed that earlier. Say the baby lives for a year, and then say the baby dies. I don't wish that on nobody, but I'm using this as an example. Say the baby dies. That soul doesn't go to hell. It goes to heaven. But guess what? Still a baby.
Yeah.
So what's happening? That baby is waiting on a relative, a parent, or something like that to get up there and help teach and help raise and help guide it in the understanding of God. So, and this is beautiful because it lets you really know and understand that God don't really lose his people. God don't lose his people at all. And if you have the thought that I'm going to sin my whole life, and then at the last, this is your thought, I'm going to sin my whole life, and then I can repent at the last time, at the last second, and I'm going to be straight. That's not going to fly with Jesus because you're trying to con him. And if you're trying to con him, then he's going to see straight through it. His judgment is just. So, but if you're one of those dudes that's not really your plan, it just happens to work out that way, that you sinned your whole life, and then you at the end you're like, oh, dang, I messed up big time. And God still being on the mercy seat. When you ask for that repentance, it's gonna come. You're gonna be good because you're doing it with a sincere heart, not a heart of I just game the system. So it's a very, very delicate thing. And when we talk about several different heavens, so to speak, let me help these Christians out. Y'all do realize in the Bible that there are 7 heavens, right? Okay.
I mean, they used to have that show, Seventh Heaven. I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened to that show, but you're right about that. You used to have a show.
Bad things.
There in the Christian context, there's not just, yes, there is one big heaven. Okay. We believe also, the Mormons, that there's one big heaven and then spiritual prison, if you want to call it hell.
Sons of perdition, right?
Right. We believe in that too. There's not a difference. All we're saying is there are sections in heaven.
Yeah, which is what
Yeah,
it says in the
that-
Bible.
that's
In
what it says in the
Revelation,
Bible in
Paul says
Revelation.
it, you know,
I
could be a
wonder where I
thing.
read that. I wonder where I read that from.
Could be a thing. Yeah.
It could
Well,
be.
I don't want to like push you too hard on this one, but one of the things I found really interesting is, you talked earlier about how Freemasonry took a lot of its cues from Rosicrucianism.
Well, I'll say this: the people who started Freemasons were Rosicrucians.
Right.
Rosicrucians are anti-dogmatic, so we
Yeah.
don't like
And the
force. Yeah,
Hermetic schools. You
correct.
got Rosicrucians from the Hermetic schools, and then this is kind of it adapted a men's groups. Like
Yes,
if the
right.
YMCA got really into esoterics for a minute, but I mean, from that you've got a lot of really important temple.
Oh
There's the
yeah,
Rosicrucian temple. There's Rosicrucian temple rituals and things. And Mormonism, similarly, this was a big thing when Joseph Smith was assassinated 2 months prior. He had joined the Freemasons, and the
right.
Freemasons are saying, "Oh well, you stole our rituals," even though those rituals are clearly much older. I mean, is that what your interpretation is, or what do you see about this idea, the fulfillment of the priesthood rituals?
The fulfillment of the priesthood rituals. This is what I'll say: it's confirmation. It should
Right,
not have been. It should not have been seen as a theft. For instance,
right,
I know for a fact that God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost are three separate things, even though they operate under the same holy divinity.
right.
Okay. So I'm not, but that came by revelation. That didn't come by study. And I did not, I understood that before I got into LDS. And so part of my journey also was that when the missionaries would come and try to teach me these things, they would get here, and Sister Hess is my witness, and Brother Kent from my ward can attest to this. I knew the doctrine almost fully of LDS Church. I had some questions about Brigham Young, but that's obvious.
Brighamism isn't Latter-day Saintism.
Right. So I once those concerns were done, as far as doctrine goes, I had it down. I knew it before here. So that's a testament to revelation. In the same way that, okay, Joseph Smith set up this temple, he doing these rituals and stuff. Was he a Freemason whenever he set this stuff up? No. He found out about, oh, this just happens to be the same thing. Okay, so it's revelation from God that what I showed Joseph Smith is true. Because I have you guys doing the same thing inside of the Masonic temples, inside of your Rosicrucian temples. I have you guys doing the
Yeah,
same thing.
it's exactly like what you said. Like it's kind of confirmation. Like it should really make them feel better about the fact that while society was falling apart throughout history and time and space has gone through all these things, that somehow these priesthood rituals still exist. Isn't that that should be like, and because of them, like they're the ones who've been helping keeping it going to an extent. Although they are, to a different degree about different things. Do you feel like the purpose is so much, is it so much different to be the
So,
purpose,
and that's a good question. And I'm going to answer it like this. During each time period, God has preserved his light. He has never once in the history of mankind allowed his light on the earth to be extinguished.
Always got a candle going. Yeah.
Always got a candle going somewhere. So whether it was the Rosicrucians that were carefully tending that light and had to keep it, they went underground for a while because the church started prosecuting people for saying that the earth was round. And that, I mean, come on. I mean, just so in order to preserve truth, you have to kind of go underground. So the Rosicrucians kind of for a long time was the torchbearers. And in my opinion, they still are carrying that light, but it has evolved. The Masons then were carrying that light. Now, the temple for the LDS Church, its difference is that in the Masonic and the Rosicrucian lodges, you have the invisible college, the school of thought, where you're learning the mysteries of God and different things like that. Whenever you coming into the temple, if you have been studying the Book of Mormon properly before you get to the temple, You're going to know the mysteries of God. You're going to know the nature of God. You're going to know the plan of salvation. You're going to know all of these little intricate things by revelation and by studying the Book of Mormon, that all the things that the Rosicrucians and the Freemasons are going to teach you. Okay? You're going to come to that same knowledge and understanding. So the temple, and the reason why God has this certain ceremony set up in the temple, and you won't, they're the same ceremonies, but there are different ceremonies in the Rosicrucians and Freemasons temples that aren't done inside of the LDS temple. Those are meant to unlock certain faculties that people who aren't Mormons could have access to. So basically, the Book of Mormon opens up your spiritual psyche. It opens up revelation from God. As you study this and as you absorb this information and this light, you're then ready to go into the temple. And the rituals that you're performing there is not meant to enlighten you, because you're already supposed to be enlightened. The rituals that you do, or the ceremonies that you're going to do inside of the LDS temple, are meant to fulfill and carry on the next level, the next life that happens, and fulfilling and adhering to those principles in the kingdom, the new kingdom that we're aspiring to. So that is the distinct difference between the two.
That's interesting. So one is about a mork is more about self-ascension or self-evolution to an extent, but you would say the works are missing, maybe, like do you feel like it's not as philanthropic, or, I mean, like the LDS Church, a lot of the rituals are like baptism, for instance, of the dead,
Right. So
just to help people.
Amorc is more individual. It's to help you gain a more universal understanding of people around you, and like you begin to genuinely, you begin to, if you study with us, you begin to like be more caring and compassionate with people. Now, without Christ, because Amorc doesn't necessarily teach you Christ, it's non-dogmatic. Without Christ, you will lack purpose. So God is going to reveal all these wonderful things to you because his laws are universal. If you're tapping into sowing and reaping, you're tapping into give me wisdom and I shall find it. Eventually, you're going to be led to Christ. But along that route, you may have revelation, but without Christ, there's no effectual working in your being. So it's interesting too, because when I understood my purpose, I began to understand that the nature of God and his message was that we do an inward work, not so much so that we can be saved, but so that we can help our fellow man who does not have the same degree of light that we have attain the light, or if they don't have light at all, help them come into that light. So that is the big big thing, I think, with Rosicrucianism versus Mormonism, is that Rosicrucianism, it is about that self. It is about fulfilling the spiritual center of self, becoming very well acquainted, and also a restudy, because by the time you leave high school and stuff, you forgot Science 101, you've forgotten, reading 101 and English literature, and you've forgotten all of these things. And so Amorc, it's an indivisible college. It's going to reinvigorate that study habit that you have. It's meant to get you more in line with God. LDS is meant for when you are in line with God, now your purpose is given. Now you could be a missionary, you could be a teacher, you could be a bishop or a president, whatever it is that God calls you to do in his ministry. Until you have that light, until you have the Christ consciousness, until you have that Tifereth, it's a no-go. So I gained revelation of God, but it was only because of the LDS Church that I gained purpose in God.
So do you feel like the Amorc, do you still go to Amorc?
I'm still a member. It's lovely. I still do the meditations every day. It's what brought me to the dance, so to speak, right? It's not Antichrist. As a matter of fact, Lonnie C. Edwards, who God rest his soul, he passed away fairly recently. He was a high-ranking member of our order. He wrote a book, and you can probably pull this up: "Spiritual Laws That Govern Humanity and the Universe" by Lonnie C. Edwards. This book, and especially the section talking about love, very Christ heavy. So this was an organization that extols Christ as not an ascended master or prophet, and that if you were to try to be like Christ, then you will achieve this light within yourself, and other people are going to want to be like that. Now, again, the mission of AMWORK is the mastery of this life. And what we have discovered is that by aligning yourself with the energy of Christ, the essence of Christ, becoming Christ-like, when you do that, you will achieve mastery of this life, because then you start learning principles like speaking things into existence, or having a good attitude and how that manifests, or not treating people with harm because you're putting negative energy into them, and so forth and so on. You're on this kind of understanding of receptivity, of correlation between people, and mysteries of God are revealed to you if you're sincere. All of this comes with a sincere heart. You know, there are people within AMWORK that don't know what I know. There are people within LDS that know far more than I know, because they have been on the sincere path longer than I have. But it's just worthy to note that AMWORK praises Christ. Like, I mean, you're not gonna make it if you're bashing Jesus Christ inside of AMRC. You probably gonna get excommunicated, or at least nobody's gonna want to talk to you.
I'm having some weird. Oh man, there's issues here with my power. It's starting to. I think my battery's dying or something.
Oh no.
Maybe we should. We'll do a second episode, because I feel like we can do more. But like, is there anything you want me to say before we cut off? Because I think my laptop's about to die. I'm sorry.
No, nothing. Nothing else. I think the only thing that I wanted to mention is that Jesus is real, and everything that I have studied throughout my life validates the Book of Mormon, validates that Joseph Smith was a prophet, and validates that God is who he says he is, and that he's coming again. And I'm telling you, to everyone that's listening, if you would just study the Book of Mormon and pray and open your heart sincerely, God will shine revelation on you like you have never experienced in your life.
I guess I got my light back, so I'll ask one more question, which is just in terms of the complement of working on both, like AMWORK and LDS. Do you recommend to members like that they should check out AMWORK? Do you think that it'll fulfill aspects of their faith?
Yes, and you need time. You also need time. When I say time, is AMWORK, Mormons and AMWORK is very similar, because the Mormon culture, as far as I can tell, is very study oriented. Mormons, I've noticed, love to study, which fits me perfectly. I love it. But the Rosicrucians are the same. So Rosicrucians every day, again, it's non-dogmatic. So it's not like nobody's forcing you to do this. But every day we're encouraged to do a meditation, to do a prayer for the well-being of humanity as a whole, and then also do prayers and meditations throughout the day for ourselves, or whatever the monographs that are teaching you tell you to do. And as you progress, and if you take the study seriously, you will pick up real truth breadcrumbs that you go, oh snap, like the world I'm looking at is not the real thing. Like this is not an illusion, but at the same time, it might as well be, if that makes any sense. Because like if you're spiritually blind, then nothing you see is proper. Nothing you see is going to be in its rightful place.
That's awesome, man. Also, I appreciate that you took the time to come in. Do you want me to share a link of where they can find? Do you have anything online, like to follow you?
Just you can share the Word Discord link if you really wanted to.
If you guys know, I don't know if you can get into the Word Discord without. I think they open it and close it occasionally, but if you try, that's where their Discord is. You can go to the Discord button there. It's like at the top right. Also, you can, of course, go to Tartary Nova's Discord.
That's right. That's right. You can catch me there too. So
Yeah.
I'm on Discord. You can catch me on Discord. I am a Celestial Warrior. You can hit me up there. If you have any questions or want any more details, and I would love to do a second episode because I do feel like that there
Yeah.
is
We'll do it
a
an hour later
lot
so your
more.
kid's stoked on and yeah, but I'm sorry for like the technical difficulties,
No,
but in
don't
general, I think
apologize.
it was a good
Oh
it's
yeah,
interesting stuff, and there's a lot to question about magic and science. And I think that a lot of people are maybe about to be more open-minded by looking at what science is doing that's so magical. Then maybe they're going to start to realize, yeah, not all of this stuff is just a parable or just a metaphor. There's a
right.
lot of, and I think that's a major reason to choose to look into the miraculous power instead of like a demonic power. And these aren't questions that worried people a generation ago, but I think that they're starting to become really pressing. So
I agree. I 100% agree.
I appreciate your time. I'll see you soon, man. Good to see you, Celestial Warrior.
Hey,
Peace out.
good to see you.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole.
Latterwave